Welcome again to the Father-Son podcast of Destiny. I am Father.
And I am Son.
Today we are talking about the Green Bay Packers. Our fans have been clamoring for our draft grading and our season preview. This might be the first of many of our season previews, but draft recently, a recent trade of the great Aaron Rodgers, etc. So we wanted to look through the draft, get a sense for where the team is at. Just higher level orientation, Father-Son podcast of Destiny. Mm-hmm. If you do not, we talk about movies, talk about sports, we might talk about some other stuff. So if you're like, ew, the Packers are dumb, or you don't like Star Wars, and
what?
Yeah, right.
What?
Yeah, maybe it's better if you don't listen. Also, I'm just gonna go full reveal. We're Catholic guys, right? I'm even politically a little bit conservative. So if you have a tendency to be triggered or deeply offended by clear-headed thinking and Jesus Christ, then I'm just putting that out there now. This is like a trigger warning.
Yep.
It might be better for you and for us. But anyway, whoever's here, whoever's willing to go along on this ride, welcome. Mm-hmm. It is not only epic, but it is also Father-Son. It is also a podcast. And it is of Destiny.
It is.
I'm feeling it. So, are you feeling it, Iggy?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it today.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Woo! We're recording here on May 14th. It is Mother's Day, and we thought the best way to honor Iggy's mother was to sit around in his bedroom, set up the desk here in the recording, and talk about the Green Bay Packers. Happy Mother's Day, honey. So the Green Bay Packers, we're looking at the draft. A little bit of season preview stuff, but mostly the draft. And I'd like to give, the old guy likes to give context and orientation, right? So there's all these people who make their living like just kind of talking out of their butts about stuff. So they pick all the, what do they call that, where they have their own draft?
Mock draft.
Yeah, mock drafts.
Yeah, tons of those.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then they sort of pick who everybody's going to pick and why. And then they talk about, like, immediately after the draft, they, like, grade everybody. Here's the reality, people. I'm an old guy. I've been watching football a long time. You have no idea how these guys are going to do. Even some of the best-looking guys coming out of college, coming out of Alabama, offensive lineman coming out of Alabama, super stud. And then he washes out. The NFL is a different game. Yep. Injuries are always a thing. There's a million factors. I don't even think about giving a real analysis of how well or how badly the Packers do in the draft until at least a couple of years after. We can look back. These are the guys that picked.
I would say like 2 or so years.
Yeah, a couple of years you start getting
you can get a pretty good gauge, 2 to 3 years after the draft happens.
Yeah, but then there's also such thing as late bloomers too. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It takes a guy maybe 2-3 years to something clicks and he gets up to game speed in the NFL, and all of a sudden this guy that was kind of a chump. And also too, most of these guys that are making their money on these pundits or talking heads or whatever they are, they don't know half of these guys that got undrafted free agents and late picks. They're looking just at the superstars, and the Packers. Look, when we talk about football, 99% of the time we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Like, there's 2 teams in the NFL. There's the Packers, and there's all the teams that wish they were the Packers.
Everybody else.
Yeah, there's everybody else. The teams that the Packers are there for the Packers to beat.
Essentially.
They're called the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, so then there's 3 teams. The Packers, the teams that are there for the Packers to beat, and then everybody else.
Well, no, that is everybody else. All the teams.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I see.
Yeah. So we're homeschooled, so we're working on the whole math thing a little bit.
A little bit.
So I'm just going to give one example. I think everybody gave the Packers a really high grade. I think it was the mid to late 80s, when they picked Tony Mandrich, left tackle. And then the next pick was the Detroit Lions, who picked some running back who was pretty good named Barry Sanders.
Yeah, he was all right.
And he did pretty well without any offensive line at all for many years. In fact, he was the only player on the entire offense for like 8 years. And he put up eye-popping numbers. So if they were doing all the grading back then, Packers probably would have graded really high. Everybody loved this guy. He was a superstar.
Yeah.
Completely washed out. Anyway, so we're going to talk about 2023. How we view the draft is we just get a sense for where the team is at, take a look at some of the guys they picked, but with no definitive like, oh, this is a B- because blah 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 blah. Also, teams go, this team needs outside linebacker. So you pick an outside linebacker in the draft, and then now you have an outside linebacker. When the reality is much more complicated than that. Like I said, it takes a couple guys, maybe a couple of years even to get up to speed. If you're looking at the draft to just sort of fill in all the blanks of all the places where you have some weakness in your starting rotation, or looking for a splashy wide receiver to solve all your problems,
hint, hint.
You're the Vikings.
You're the Vikings.
Don't be the Vikings. Be the Packers.
Yeah, just don't. Just don't go there.
So that's how we look at the draft. Any more by way of context? So I know one of the main things when we look at the Packers more holistically, right now, we're in the middle of what you might call a youth movement.
Yeah, definitely.
Any thoughts on this?
I think it's good. It's about time, in my opinion. The guys, a lot of the players we had the last 3 or so years were pretty old. Especially Mercedes Lewis and Aaron Rodgers were both. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, quick rundown of some of the guys we lost, right?
Yeah, and do we still have...
I think there was a quarterback.
Do we still have Bakhtiari?
I think so.
Okay, because he's probably
even
the
that was
only...
coming up as questionable. He might go to, I don't know, maybe the Jets or something.
He's the only guy that is really old still that I can remember, that I can think of.
Offensive line age is a little better than a lot of other positions.
Right, yeah, and we
I would want him in that room.
We got a lot of younger guys a couple of years ago. We drafted a lot of offensive linemen. So, I mean, maybe we're not quite good, but...
Yep. And we're going to go position by position in a little while. But the guys we lost over the past couple of years, I mean, but this year we lost Mason Crosby, who's like my age now, some quarterback, who I guess was pretty good. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty
Rodgers.
good. Yeah. Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tunyon from the tight end room, we lost, I think, last year. But then the wide receivers are particularly concerning. Over the past couple of years, Devontae Adams,
Azard,
Lazard, MVS, St. Brown, and now Randall Cobb, as well as the tight ends Tunyon and Robert Tunyon was looking like he was starting to become a superstar. Then he got hurt, and now he's playing for some team kind of south of Green Bay.
That's literally all of our guys from 4 years ago. Other than
and Mercedes,
if you take our receiving group 2 years ago, we have none of those guys.
Yeah,
because we had the short guy. The other
Amari Rodgers.
Yeah,
who I thought was potentially going to be really good. And he's not even on the team anymore.
They got rid of him. No.
Yeah.
They got rid of Mercedes Lewis and Equinemius.
Yeah, and last year at some point in the middle of the year, I think they picked up Sammy Watkins.
And got rid of him.
Okay. Yeah. I was reading on this is the kind of deep research you can come to expect on the FSPOD of Destiny. As I was researching for today's show, I read on, 247 Sports, the Packer Report. The Packer receiver room currently consists of players with 88 career receptions in the NFL. Like the aggregated total of NFL receptions in the Packers wide receiver room right now is 88.
Total. That's not okay.
So when we look at the youth movement, where it hits the most. So, for example, it doesn't hit the offensive line because they didn't draft anybody, they didn't pick anybody up. They're bringing, from what I read, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago on Packers.com. Those guys do such a good job. Spofford and Hodkowitz, those guys are great.
Oh, they're fun.
They're the absolutely number one source. They're not going to break all the stories, but they just good analysis, and they're not just homers either. They work for the Green Bay Packer organization, but they're balanced, and they can sort of show here's an area of concern or whatever. But anyway, 13 offensive linemen are returning from last year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's good. And those guys are now experienced. They're experienced working together. And their experience with the Packers offense. I'm pretty confident that they can cobble together or hobble together a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah,
but where it hits the weakest is that wide receiver and tight end group.
So who do we have at tight end?
Well, that's when we get to who did we draft. We picked up a couple guys.
Oh, we did. We picked up like
that.
2 or 3.
And we still have, I can't remember the guys' names offhand, but we'll look at that in a second.
Okay.
But the benefit, so the weakness is that inexperience, especially in the guys on the offense who are supposed to catch the football. But the benefit, I think, is twofold. What do you think the benefits are of this youth movement? Because you were like, it's about time. Why?
I think Aaron Rodgers was a little bit of a grumpy goose. But that, I don't know if that has to do with being old. I'm not sure. I think it does give a fresh, like, I don't know. It feels new. It feels fresh. It's good. Because we weren't winning any Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers. We weren't winning any Super Bowls with that team. And we got rid of anybody, really, most players of that Super Bowl era.
Okay.
I think basically everybody.
Oh, from the last time they won the Super Bowl,
yeah.
Rodgers and Crosby were the last guys.
Okay.
And have been for a while.
Okay. So they're gone.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a new team, it feels like.
Yeah, that was like almost 15 years ago.
Yeah, almost all of our players have been drafted or picked up or started playing within the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them, the great majority of them.
So the benefit of that is just the Febreze factor, just it's fresh.
Yeah, especially the good players, like Christian Watson was rookie last year, Jair Alexander was 2018 draft pick. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones were both within the last 5 years.
Aaron
Love,
Jones is
obviously.
kind of one of the oldest, if not the oldest veteran on the offense at 28.
Right, and he was picked in 2017.
Yeah, and he still seems
old.
like he's got some gas in the tank, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's good.
I think the world of Aaron Jones. He seems like a heck of a nice guy too. Like I would hang out with that dude. And just we could have him on the podcast at some point. Maybe I'll shoot him a text or whatever.
Snapchat. Or whatever.
I'll hook up with him on the Snapchat. Like, bro, come out and do the FSPOD.
He comes out to our fine establishment.
Yeah, we don't really have a thing where we could record on the phone. So if you could like fly out to Tallahassee,
just gotta show up. Yeah, we can't pay for your.
Just knocks on the door. Hey guys, Aaron Jones is here. So
we should do that, dude. That would be fun.
So, to me, the benefits of the we should. I'll give him a call.
Okay.
I'll call him up on the old flip phone.
You know it. That's probably what he's using.
So the benefits of the youth movement to me are like young and hungry, fresh, a little more optimistic, which might not be a bad thing. I don't want to. But then the other benefit, I think, and Jordan Love. In that first big press conference, did you hear that press conference?
I didn't watch it.
You should be watching this. First of all, he's kind of got a deep voice. Like he sounds really studly. He's like, I got a comp. You're not. See, right away when I do deep voice, I do total like white guy, like Italian stallion deep voice. But he's got the. It's a really cool. He's like, he sounds really just cool in the sense of like he seems like a cool dude, but also like he's cool under pressure.
Okay.
And I'm like, I ain't punchy, I got a relaxed brain,
I don't think that's what he said.
But he said, he was, a bunch of times, he kept talking about things like team continuity. I don't think he used that term, but like growing together. And that's, I think, a real benefit. As you have a young quarterback, he even talked about with the receivers, being able to get them used to doing things the way I like them, rather than having to adjust from another NFL quarterback.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So for him, he was, at least his public statement was that he was seeing the lack of experience as a tremendous benefit. And I do think you get a bunch of young guys together who are kind of in over their heads together. They bond, and I'm a huge believer in the NFL of if you can get a team under the same philosophy, bonded together as bros and running in the same direction, they can do a lot of damage. And I think we've seen that recently with the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Their coach there, not the brightest star in the sky, perhaps. I can't remember the guy's name. But I have a couple of Lions fans. What's his name?
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
But he's got everybody frothing at the mouth.
Oh, my gosh.
Running in the same direction.
They're
dangerous.
Dude, the Lions are like favored for the North this year.
We'll get to that, but I'll favor them probably. I want to see what Jordan Love looks like.
Hey, I'd favor all three of those teams over the Bears, but I'm kind of anti-Bears a little bit.
Yeah, you're a Packers fan, son. As much as the Vikings are like, ew, we're the rival. And as lousy as the Bears have been, it's not been an interesting rivalry.
No.
But ownership of the Bears
I
is
hate
still...
the Bears.
Oh my gosh, dude, the Chicago Bears. And when you live in Green Bay, too, the... what we call the Fibs, which we're not going to say what that means, F-I-B, come up from Illinois.
Oh, I see. Okay. Hey, all right.
They would come up from Illinois, and it was totally like the movie The Great Outdoors, and Dan Aykroyd. Hey, you kids want to ride on a Suck My Wake? Hey, you know, if you want a pizza, the very best pizza in the world, none of this nonsense up here in Green Bay. You got to go down to Gino's. And they were just, what are you guys doing? Go home.
Get out of here.
Yeah, the big Chicago guys wearing like $1,000 watches, and anyway.
Showed up in Green Bay, Wisconsin,
just like take over the town with their credit cards and stuff. So anyway, there's a bit of a class war there between Green Bay and Chicago, and there always will be.
Yes. It's still the greatest rivalry in sports, and it probably will be for a while.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely the most historic and storied rivalry in sports. Yeah. And the Vikings are a little bit like Scrappy Doo, and they've been good lately.
But they're more flashy and less like actually going to beat you.
Yeah.
Did you see that game we played against them at the end of last season?
Yeah, probably. I don't remember.
They were like heavily favored, and we beat them like 50-10 or something like that. We like destroyed them late in the season when they needed to be winning for a better playoff.
Yeah, that's the thing is I've been watching, because we lived in Minnesota for a long time, and I've been watching just as an organization, they just don't know much about football.
You're not wrong.
And you know, like that was the only like first round pick that I made a pick on. Like, okay, the Vikings are gonna pick a flashy wide receiver.
And then they did.
I don't remember the guy's name, but because I don't think they're not the Packers, but
they picked some crazy.
That's it. If we just get a flashy wide receiver, or we get this awesome veteran quarterback, Brett Favre, or what's his face now, Cousins. You just plug him in, and like because he's good, and then you pay him a lot of money, and then you just like, dude, win, right? Because you won with that other team or whatever. So yeah, as an organization. The Wilfs or whoever owned that team they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're not the best.
Yeah, they're like Minnesota Jerry Jones.
Like, you don't pick like what the Vikings don't need right now.
Yeah,
in my opinion, and from what I've seen, and I watched a lot of Vikings football last season because I had to, whatever. They don't need a wide receiver.
No.
They need a defense. They need young defensive players who can play football better than the ones that they have.
And honestly, and maybe I'm a little too Lombardian on this, but they also need some kind of basic philosophy about like how to play the game of football.
They do need better defense.
And you can't run an offense through a marquee running back. In the 21st century, you just can't.
Well, they weren't like last year. They weren't doing.
But that's what they were trying to do. But then Dalvin Cook gets hurt every other week.
That's
so then it comes down. Then that's why you don't do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about.
But they don't need a receiver. They have Justin Jefferson. They don't need a receiver.
They have one.
Yeah, they're good. Just run him out. He'll catch.
And the Packers have Christian Watson. So why did they get a guy in the third round or whatever it was?
I don't know.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Vikings.
Yeah,
today.
That's enough of Vikings.
Because I get upset.
My gosh.
And with what the doctor said with my heart condition, my blood pressure.
He's joking. Wait, are you joking?
So, youth movement. We got a lot of guys gone. Let's take just a minute to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Because if we just talk about him in passing, I'm going to think about just the recent stuff. It was maybe 3 years ago where Colin Cowherd was like a hot take guy about the Packers all the time. He's a smart guy, but he loves to make the controversial statement. Especially about Aaron Rodgers. He's like I'm going to say something controversial about Aaron Rodgers and, you know, have probably a pretty decent retirement plan. I don't know the guy, but
yeah, probably.
I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, dude. We got to be more controversial.
But a couple years ago, he said, look, Aaron Rodgers, what is that guy's name from the Bears back in the day? Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler.
He said, Aaron Rodgers is Jay Cutler with talent.
Oh my gosh.
Like he pouts on the sidelines, especially when you get to the big games and the playoffs and whatever else. he gets a little upset about something, and he becomes a diva, and he pouts on the sideline. And that was 3 years ago or so, but I think it was about 5 years ago or so, where I said, trade Aaron Rodgers, because he was starting to become a sourpuss. And I said, you can get earth for that guy right now. You take some desperate team that needs to make a splash, that's worried about filling seats, and you get Aaron Rodgers, who still was in his prime.
Yeah.
They would give you earth for him. I'll give you all of our draft picks for the next 3 years. Go. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, it wouldn't do that. But you know what I mean? Like, we would have done like the Browns or the Tennessee Titans or the Jaguars or some team that's just hoping somebody shows up on Sunday.
Yeah, it was 2021, the draft year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when they picked up Love?
No, we picked up Love in 2020.
Okay.
So it was 2021, and there were all these rumors about him going to the Niners.
Yeah, that's right.
But it didn't go through.
Trade for heartthrob guy?
Right. Trade for Jimmy G, for the it was for Jimmy G and that first round pick, which was like number 3.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get Jimmy G, just so we could sell all of put him in July in our player swimsuit calendar.
Oh my gosh. So
put him in July and just sell 1 billion copies of that to all we'd have a lot more Packers fan ladies all throughout the country.
Yeah, dude.
Jimmy G is literally the handsomest man who has ever lived.
It's creepy.
Well, of course, look at us. The third handsomest man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, so my point of all this is, if I look at and then he got weird with the man bun and the darkness retreat and
what?
And you know, and when he came in the draft, like, he was vaguely Christian, and he seemed to kind of have a basically decent head on his shoulders, and he just got so weird. So if I talk about him in passing, I'm just thinking like late era Rodgers, which for some reason is the post 80s like template. You're awesome, you're a total bro, everybody thinks you're cool. And then you get super weird, and then you go to the Jets, and then you fail to win the Super Bowl to the Vikings, and then you retire. So Vikings, you have that to look forward to next year.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers,
get ready,
losing in the playoffs,
get hyped
in the championship game
to the Saints.
We could have a whole episode on that game, the Minnesota Vikings with Brett Favre against the New Orleans.
But I didn't watch it.
Bounty Gate.
I didn't watch it.
Fascinating football game. But anyway, I want to give Aaron Rodgers, like, this guy is one of the greatest quarterbacks that has ever played the game. Thoughts and feelings about the good of Aaron Rodgers?
I think he's the best Packers quarterback, but he's really the only one I've ever seen.
Okay.
But from like accomplishments, I think he's the best. He won. Because he won the 2 straight MVPs. Mm-hmm. He's won 3 total. Or has he won 4?
I think he might have won 4, actually.
Just a second. And then he won the Super Bowl in 2010. Mm-hmm. And his interception percentage,
his touchdown to interception is insane. And so in that respect, he was the exact opposite of Brett Favre, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. To watch him play when he came out, I remember his first. Go ahead.
It's 4. It's 4 MVPs.
So our devoted fans, I think, are starting to pick up on our different skill sets. Like, I'm the guy who can kind of talk about stuff, and Iggy's the guy who knows stuff.
It was 2011, 2014, and then 2020 and 2021. So he did get the 2 straight, and he got 2011, 2014.
Yep. So
that's a lot.
When he came out, that first year they just didn't do that well. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the forbidden word rebuilding year that we're apparently not allowed to talk about anymore. But he came out and they just weren't that good. Like, they were putting it together, they were figuring things out in a post-Favre world. McCarthy was still pretty new.
Yeah.
And everyone was like,
McCarthy.
See, I told you we should have kept Favre. And I said, even that year, because I'm really smart, I said, I don't think the lack of Brett Favre is the problem right now with this football team. And then the next year, I think it was the next year, maybe the year after that, they won the Super Bowl. I think that was 2009. It's his first time when he came out as the starter. And then 2010, they went and won it.
Yeah, I think so.
And to watch him play, the precision and the way he would just tear apart a defense, some of those absolutely laser precise throws they made. People always go to like those. They had that one year where he had like 2 or 3 just insane Hail Mary throws to win a game at the end.
Dude, the Lions.
Yeah, that Lions throw where it looked like it was going to hit the rafters.
Yeah.
But everyone looks at those, and those are really good fun. But just to watch him methodically tear apart a defense with his arm, like he was so precise, and his vision was insane. His ability to read what's going on and extend plays. Brett Favre was a joy to watch, and it was a roller coaster ride. But watching Aaron Rodgers was like it was like a clinic in just how to be awesome at being a quarterback. He was so good.
Yeah.
Favre wasn't even that good. He was just a maniac.
Yeah, he was, yeah. But even you watch, like 2 years ago, or whatever, 2021, which was the year we,
one of those years that we didn't win the Super Bowl.
That was the year we lost to the Niners the second time in the playoffs.
The 49ers.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. But you watch that offense any week during the regular season that wasn't obviously week 1 against the Saints. And him and Devontae Adams with Alan Lazard and they were so good. That was the Tunyon year.
And he was like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be really good.
That offense was crazy good.
Was that Aaron Jones was new too, and he was cutting through everybody?
Aaron Jones wasn't new, but he was good. That was when the year Dylan started to become a thing.
Yep.
And then you had Tunyon, Adams, and Lazard.
Yeah,
then Aaron Rodgers
MGS too, and St. Brown backing them up too, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you still had both of them. I think so, but I'm not sure.
I thought it was at the end of 21 that they cut those other two guys loose, which is too bad because I thought MVS in particular had some real potential.
He went to the Chiefs and won a Super Bowl, which, I mean, not that surprising.
Caught a couple passes and everything from what I understand.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
Okay. So, Aaron Rodgers has had a heck of a career in Green Bay. And I don't want to let the last couple of years and him getting weird kind of wreck that. So, but anyway, he's gone.
Yeah, he is.
The love. We're gonna look at the players we drafted, and then we're gonna have a season preview, look through the games and stuff, and then we're gonna talk about this being a rebuilding year and what does that mean and what are our general feelings about it. Okay, so let's look at the draft.
All right.
This part of the year is funny because you're, like I said earlier, you're looking at all these guys. And you're like, oh man, this team looks so amazing. I don't know. But I'll say this. I have about as much confidence in Lucas Van Ness, the first round pick, as an edge rusher, as I have in almost any player I've seen the Packers draft in ages.
Does he look that good?
He does look that good.
Okay.
And the guys on Packers.com just seeing him in the rookie mini camp, and they said his nickname is Hercules, and he totally lives up to the part. Like a little bit reminiscent of like a young Clay Matthews coming in.
Yeah, except without the hair.
And he's huge. Not huge. I think he's 260 maybe and like 6'3".
He's legit though.
But he's legit. He's strong as an ox and like runs a 4.5 40.
Yeah, he's 272 pounds and 6'5".
And the cool thing too is this guy was a hockey player in high school.
Oh really?
Yeah, so
that's
insane
cool.
Like footwork and balance and skill. Hockey is an amazing sport. And amazingly difficult, like the hand-eye coordination, the balance, the speed, and the raw violence and power. Precision. It's insane. I wish I could watch more hockey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see a guy who can just, like Clay Matthews did early in his career, who at any time could just completely explode the other team's backfield.
Yep.
Just throw a guy or cut under a guy. So there's a lot of excitement around linebacker Lucas Van Ness, who they might end up putting, a hand on the floor as an end. But to me, that doesn't really matter. It's just, is your hand down or are you standing up? Either way, it's an edge rusher.
Yeah, I think linebacker or outside linebacker was one of probably, if not the most important spots on defense. I think the most important spot on defense, because we got rid of the Smith brothers.
We still have Preston Smith.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's a football player. But yeah, losing Zadarius Smith to the Vikings, who recently just let him go too, by the way. Oh, where did he go? I just saw it just this morning. Yeah, right after Mass, I came home and I saw it, and anyway. Yeah, I can't remember. He's out of the NFC North, though, I think.
Sweet.
But he was a stud, and we lost that guy, Preston Smith.
Yeah.
We'll look in the position groups later, but you're right. We need a good edge rusher. And he's one of those few guys that I think you actually expect more likely than not that he's going to win the starting job this summer. Yeah. And I think he's going to do great things if he stays. Always the caveat, right? If he stays healthy and no tragedies.
Right.
Let's just look at both. We picked up 2 tight ends.
Yep, we picked up, let's see here, Luke Musgrave from Oregon State, pick 42, and Tucker Kraft. South Dakota State, pick 78.
And so both of these guys, I don't know, what do you know about them? What are your thoughts on this?
I know literally nothing about either.
Okay, so when it comes to the actual players, my dad might actually know something.
Yeah, I haven't done any, I just don't follow the draft. I watch the games mostly, but I don't know.
So the scouting report, or at least the way they're getting characterized, Luke Musgrave is a guy with pretty decent speed, who's kind of one of those guys that can do one of those straights right up the middle of the field. They call that the seam, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
And he has good hands, et cetera, et cetera. And then Tucker Kraft is more of a he's going to break some tackles, get some gritty yards when you really need him. They both have decent hands. They're high on these guys. Obviously, they went to pick them second and third round. And I think, too, part of the thing, in most teams, you would say, okay, you need a guy who is primarily a blocking tight end, and you need a guy who's primarily a go-get-it tight end. So that you look what they did in college, you get them, you plug them in. Packers are like, you can't exist on this team unless you're willing to block. And and you learn how to do it, you get good at it. Otherwise, you're a liability.
Yeah.
So, and I think both of these guys have the heft and the ability to at least be decent at blocking when needed to help out all the plays work. It's an 11-man side of the ball. I like these guys. I think if there's a controversial pick amongst at least the Green Bay fans I've talked to, some of our, clamoring FSPOD fan base.
Who are those people?
The podheads.
The podheads?
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's not good.
I didn't say pothead, I said podhead.
Podhead? It still doesn't sound right.
Jaden Reed. I think you, first of all, weren't happy about that pick.
I wasn't.
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
I don't know.
Dad doesn't remember stuff.
I mean, he looks good, and we need more receivers.
Yeah.
Just as a fact, we don't have the players.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. They picked him high. I don't know where he would have been graded or what, but I assume that the guys making the board for Green Bay are pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Better than we are. So the report on him, he's got good enough speed. He makes good cuts, and that he's a guy who fights for the ball. He'll go up there and he's been really good at making catches, contested catches. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wide receiver on all the wide receivers on the depth chart right now, and the only 2 guys of the 8 that I recognize are Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. That's it. All the other guys I don't never heard of. It's just so weird, There's nobody weird that I've heard of.
Nowhere is the youth movement more prevalent and obvious than in the wide receiver room.
Yeah,
and I guess the tight ends too. It's like half. But Colby Wooden, the defensive lineman from Auburn, the feeling I get is he hasn't. I mean, I guess 4th round pick, they start not getting as much press.
Yeah.
But I watched his sort of little interview in the locker room and just seeing a little bit of clips. He looks really good. I don't know, there's something about him. He's kind of smiles a lot, and he just seems like he's got his head on well. Another one of those guys oh man, I'd like to hang out with that guy. He seems cool.
Yeah.
And he's one of the guys I just want to root for, but I don't really know anything about him. Sean Clifford, Penn State. I guess you need another quarterback. That's great.
Yeah. Was he the starter at Penn State? Because Penn State. But
I don't remember.
I assume so. If they're going to draft him in 5th round, he'll be a backup.
Yeah, more defensive linemen, more wide receivers. We got a new kicker. Goodbye to Mason Crosby, who is the Packers' leading scorer of all time.
I really hope that he's consistent, because, oh my gosh. And even the last couple of years, Mason Crosby kind of. He had his moments of failure. The special teams was not at its highest.
Oh, the last 2 years, the special teams, the text that we would send to the family.
But this year was...
With the, like, dumb-looking kid falling over?
This year was good with special teams. We were actually good. The 2 years previous were really, really bad. It was crazy.
So let's look over at the team. We're going to end with our kind of season preview.
All right.
I'm going to organize them by position.
All right.
So we're not going to really talk much about the offensive line. There's a lot of experienced guys. Look at our backfield. Jair Alexander is a superstar. He is 26 years old. He's got a lot of football yet ahead of him. Corey Ballantyne, some guy they just picked up, I guess.
Idea.
It's a corner.
Yep.
Rasul Douglas, he's good. And a bunch of guys I've never heard of.
Ford ended up doing pretty good. He got some picks last year.
Okay.
Let's see. Nixon ended up being pretty good. Stokes.
Yeah, Eric Stokes is good. So, and there's a lot of dudes, right? I mean, they load up the roster now, and then they eliminate guys to get down to their 53 before the first game. But
right, yeah.
I think there's a couple of good veterans, a couple of young guys that could probably step up. I'm okay with that. Defensive line, Kenny Clark is a stud.
Yes. No idea about any of these other guys. Oh, Slayton was good. One of the Slaytons. Slayton or Slayton. Not sure.
I like this. Well, there's a Slayton with no Y and a Slayton with a Y. Those guys are going to have to fight. Colby Wooden, who I said, I just like this guy. I want to see what he does. 273.
Yeah, he's new.
Just a generic defensive lineman. Devontae Wyatt, I don't know. I think he's good. Oh, look, we got a fullback again. Henry Pearson.
Doesn't even get
From
himself
Appalachian State. I love it.
Doesn't get himself a picture.
Maybe he's the next John Kuhn.
The next John Kuhn.
Yeah, so hopefully we get a decent kicker. Linebackers.
Yeah.
Devondre Campbell is a stud in the middle.
He's so good.
Dude is so good. I hope he sees 29. I hope his legs hold up.
Dude,
because that guy is
Gary,
awesome.
He was a recent guy, 2019.
Yep. Rashawn Gary has potential to be really good, and I know he's had injuries, and that was part of the talk about Van Ness, right? Depending on Gary, he's still questionable. Is he going to be back in time for the season? I guess he had a really bad, some kind of ACL tear or something.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, he's a stud for sure, and hopefully Van Ness.
Yep. Quay Walker.
Yeah, Quay Walker.
He was great. Preston Smith was great.
Preston Smith is a stud.
I think Hamilton was okay.
I don't remember him at all.
Ladarius Hamilton. I don't know.
We're going to end on the quarterbacks. Running backs, I still love our running back room. A.J. Dillon and some guy named Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones, too, because he doesn't get the press of some of these really big, fancy running backs. Because they never run him like a bell cow type back, where they just run him up the gut, and then pass, and then punt. You know, where he does a lot of damage.
We're not the Titans.
Totally. What's that guy's name?
What's his name? Oh my gosh, Derrick Henry.
Oh my gosh, that guy's
He's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I think Jones is probably top 10 in the league. But Derrick Henry is on another level. Like, he's just insane.
Right, but I think the thing I like about Aaron Jones is he feels more like a team player, and maybe just how the Packers are using him. To me, still, he's maybe one of the top 3 if I had to pick a running back to field a team. Because he's a team player, he's fast, he can run up the gut, he can run a zone scheme, he can do cuts on the outside. He can run and pass and catch. I've seen them just swing him out to wide receiver, have him streak and beat a defensive back.
Yeah, he's fast.
And catch that football on the fly like a receiver. The guy is a fantastic all-around athlete, and Packers love those kind of guys. Yep. Where they don't even, don't make me tell you what position he's going to play, because we don't know. We just know he's awesome, and we're going to find a spot for him, you know?
Yeah.
And I see Aaron Jones as one of those guys. And then they have some other guys fighting for backup spots, which is great, because you never know who gets hurt. Lou Nichols they just drafted.
Yeah.
He's a little bit bigger. But A.J. Dillon at 247, he sort of fits in between Dillon and Jones. Yeah, we'll see. Safeties. We just picked up Jonathan Owens, kind of a journeyman, 27 years old.
Yeah.
He's had some injury issues and didn't make it with a couple of teams, and he's hoping for this maybe last opportunity. Not an old guy by any stretch, but the window starts closing. And he is married to the beautiful and talented gymnast. What's her name? They had the pictures on the site.
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles, yep.
Yeah.
Multiple gold medalist. And they had the pictures of them, like, signing the contract and standing there. And they were so cute because he's tall and she's kind of short. And they were just smiling. They were just adorable. And I remember years ago when Simone Biles was on that, like, the dream team, the Fierce Five or whatever. And your mom and I just watched every bit of those Olympics and the gymnastics. And they stole our hearts. And we just thought they were wonderful. Like little Gabby Douglas. And they were all just so cute. So anyway, congratulations to them.
Savage.
Oh yeah, Savage. That guy can play football.
He's really good. He's young.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't recognize any of these other guys.
I have some faith in this team.
I do. They're good. I don't
tight end group. So yeah, we hung on that. We let Mercedes Lewis usually I kind of assumed, like, look, they know what they're doing. Letting go Robert Tunyon was a difficult one because I saw him as a player with his arrow absolutely pointing up. Like, to me, he looked poised to become a real threat in this league.
I don't know.
But it is what it is.
He was very good last year, but
I know.
But he
wasn't get utilized much. Anyway, but we hung on to Tyler Davis and Josiah DeGara, both 26-year-old guys. Hope the best for them. Best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck, guys. I don't know.
And funny, the tight ends, like the guys they drafted aren't in here, but yeah, then they drafted two guys who are going to really have an opportunity to compete for a starting job. No offense to DeGaro and Davis, but they're still young guys who haven't really shocked the world yet.
Right.
And the wide receiver group.
You got Watson, you got Dobbs, and then maybe DuBose.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Oh yeah, remember Samori Tori?
No.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, I see, because some of those tight ends they haven't signed yet. Because, like,
yeah.
Dontavian Wicks is there because they signed him. Christian Watson is a stud.
They haven't signed with Jaden Reed.
So you're like, Bo Melton. You haven't seen Major League, the baseball movie?
No, I have not.
So the woman assumes ownership, like the wife of the guy who owned the team died or something, and she assumed ownership of the team.
Uh-oh.
The Cleveland Indians, which were called the Cleveland Indians.
What are they now?
They're like the Cleveland not racists or something. But anyway, they were called the Cleveland Indians. She assumes control of the Cleveland Indians. And her goal is to lose enough games that people stop showing up so that she can contractually move the team. And so in their first board meeting where they're looking at the proposed guys to invite to camp to fight for a spot on the team, all the guys are like, I never heard of half of these guys. I think one guy goes, this guy here is dead. She goes, well, cross him off then. It was just a great scene.
Yeah.
So then we move, finally.
The Guardians is their name. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's kind of a dumb name. Commanders is a cooler name than Guardians. Because Commanders is like, it's the military and it's up in D.C. So it makes a little bit more sense.
Quick statement on all this. For our fans, I'm sure they're clamoring to know what our take is on the woke destruction of supposedly racist names against Native Americans. We saw it with the Washington Redskins and all the Cleveland Indians. I think maybe even the Braves might be changing their name. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm going to just say this. I am not quite so offended. There's so many nuances to all this. And that's the thing that I think the woke militia doesn't address, is that there are actual nuances to stuff. If I try hard enough, I can make them do what I want, and that's really all that matters. But there is a difference, I think, between, we're called the Redskins, which is pretty darn racist.
Yeah.
Or these teams that are like, we're the silly little Indians, and they have like a Native American guy dressed up, kind of dancing around like a clown. There's a difference between that and the Florida State Seminoles.
Or the Chiefs. Well,
the Chiefs, I think, are right
Chiefs
in the middle.
are a little bit.
But I'll point at the Seminoles and the Chicago Blackhawks hockey team. Yeah. Chief Blackhawk was a real Native American chief and one who had a proud history in war. The Seminoles are a tremendous pride. Like, they were the last to sort of give in and kind of take on the Trail of Tears to go to their reservation.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible part of our history, the way we handled the Native Americans in this quote-unquote new world, right? But they fought hard and they fought bravely. And I would bet if I knew anyone in the Seminole tribe and said this is kind of the name of the team and it's to honor that kind of fight, I bet you many of them would say that is actually pretty honoring of our history and our heritage. I know I would be. If somebody called themselves St. John Paul II, who's the son of Poland, and I'm a Polish guy, I would think that was pretty cool, right? But if they called themselves the stupid Polacks,
it's not that cool.
I would think that was cool too. That's my own issue. Which brings us to the quarterback position.
Yes, it does.
That was a good segue, I thought.
Yes, so we got Sean Clifford, the new guy, Danny Etling,
yeah,
and Jordan Love.
Jordan
Love is the veteran here. He's the old guy. He's been playing for 4 years. The other two have been playing for 1 or less. Mm-hmm. Jordan Love is the vet.
He's the grizzled vet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If I'm in the NFC North or some other team that sees the Green Bay Packers on its schedule, I'm shaking right now. That's a dangerous quarterback room.
It's not. But
I mean, really, the story here is Jordan Love.
Yeah,
We haven't seen much of him. Some of it, especially earlier on when he would kind of fill in, was a little rough. I think he
did okay though.
Who did he play last year? The Eagles, I think.
Okay. So the main games that I remember, he played the Chiefs 2 years ago. Patrick Mahomes Chiefs and only lost by a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Started against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. It's actually funny because Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers never played against each other, because one of them was always injured. Too bad, I guess, whatever. And then his other game was against the Eagles, where he came in and only lost by a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So he didn't win.
Yep.
But he kept with 2 great teams with great quarterbacks with quite good defenses. Mm-hmm. Especially the Eagles. Their defense is amazing.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago. He's probably gotten better.
He didn't play at all last year?
Last year he played the Eagles. The year before that he played the Chiefs.
Yep, and I think if I remember right, the storyline with the Chiefs game was that you see a guy like, oh, maybe he's got a little more than we thought. And then I think the storyline with the Eagles was kind of like, okay, they lost the game. That's not the story. The story is a guy who looks poised in the pocket, who looks confident, who looks like he knows how to run this offense. That's the Jordan Love I'm excited to see. And in his press conference, he looked like a guy he's waited and he's learned and he's studied and he's practiced. Yeah. He's obviously got talent. They wouldn't have moved up for him. Like, they're not total idiots. They wouldn't have moved up for him if there wasn't something there. It was a questionable move at the time, and I still think it is. But
yeah,
there's something there, and I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, I'm more excited for this season than I have been for a season in a while.
And I don't necessarily expect, like, oh, and then they go, whatever, 15-1. I guess 15-2 now.
Yeah, 15-2, 16-1. 17
yeah, and like just roll through the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. I don't expect any of that, but
I don't expect playoffs even really. I mean, it's more possible than it was because of the larger playoffs, but I mean,
which brings me to the
still got to win 10 games.
The concept that dare not speak its name, rebuilding year. When I remember when I was growing up, maybe my memory is wrong because I was young and I don't have a great memory, but it seemed like people were much more open, especially like front office people or GMs or coaches, about talking about a rebuilding year. Like, look, we just got, like, if this was 20 years ago, I feel like Gutekunst and LaFleur would go up to the mic and say, look, we just lost maybe the greatest quarterback who has ever played the game.
Yeah.
And we wish him the best and all that. But the fact is Jordan Love is still young. He's still unproven. We got a lot of young receivers coming in. There's a lot of our team that has gone from old and veteran and experienced to very young, very green. It doesn't, and it's difficult to pick up the game at this league. This is a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
We're going to go take a run at it, right? We're do our best as we're learning and see. Maybe we get a shot at the playoffs. Who knows? But really what we're doing is we're building for the long vision. So we ask you guys to, I think that would actually be, I would get more behind that frankly, because it's just honest leadership, right? Like, look, guys, this is the reality of the situation.
But also, you want to keep your team excited. Because for players like Jair Alexander, players like that, they're kind of like, well, why am I here if we're just kind of...
that's a good point.
So...
It's a good point.
Pretend like you're going to try, because you are actually going to try to win a Super Bowl. That's what you're doing every year. And you're...
Yeah.
The players that need to have experience will get that.
Maybe that's the thing, is I don't necessarily see rebuilding year and keeping good veteran players excited as mutually exclusive.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
Sit in the locker room and say, guys, look, we're not going to win jack squat this year. You guys are terrible. No, I wouldn't say that. You say, look, we got a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who are green, and we're going to be growing together. So that makes it less likely on paper that we're going to go make a run at the Super Bowl this year. However, you guys are here for a reason. I picked you guys, and I believe in you. You believe in each other. And I say, let's go make a run at this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how you say it in front of the microphone, too.
Maybe. Yeah.
But not sort of hide the fact, no, every year we're going to win a Super Bowl. It's just not, it's disingenuous to me. But
Right. Well,
I think the Packers do this kind of thing as well as anybody, but I miss the time when you could just honestly say this is a rebuilding year. That's all.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean, you can't see it any other way after losing Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Jordan Love, actually. I think he could be good. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm interested in watching. All right, Iggy, talk to me about the season.
Okay. So, the schedule has recently been released. I will, hold on. So, this season, obviously they choose, like, all the games that you're going to play before they pick what order and when and all that. So we play, obviously, the 6 NFC North games. We're playing the, let's see here. Playing the AFC West.
Okay.
So that's Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, and Raiders. I believe that division is similar to the North, where it's kind of up and coming.
Yep.
The Chargers are starting to become pretty good. The Broncos just got a new coach. They could be good, but they also got Russell Wilson. He's pretty old. I don't know. Don't know about that. Then you're also going to play, let's see here. What else is in that division? You've got, wait a second. I said Broncos. Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders.
I guess the Chiefs are pretty decent.
Chiefs are amazing. They just won the Super Bowl. Raiders...
They have a pretty good wide receiver, I guess.
Yeah, and they got Jimmy G now, so they're making money.
Heartthrob.
And so then we're going to play... So we're playing the AFC West, our division. We're going to play the NFC South, which in my opinion might be the worst division in football.
Do they still have a division, though?
I think it's still the worst division. I think it's probably the worst division of football.
Look, the Falcons, they still have a team.
So the Falcons are terrible.
That's great. That's good.
Saints,
they still have a team. They have the stadium.
The Saints are terrible. The Bucks just got didn't they just get Baker Mayfield?
They did.
I'm pretty sure they did. So they're going to be pretty bad.
Wow.
And then you've got the Panthers, right? Did I mention all of them?
Carolina Panthers.
All 4 of those teams, in my opinion, are looking really, really bad. Like, not even like, oh, they have hope for next year. Like, no, not really. So I don't want to be like, that's 4 wins, because that's not how it works in the NFL.
The Giants and the Steelers and the Rams.
Yeah, and then the other, like, the 3, like, different games we're playing are going to be the Steelers. Yeah, what you said. The Steelers, the Giants, and the Rams. So, Rams were pretty bad last year. I don't know what's happening with Stafford. I don't know if he's still there or what. I don't know. I think he is. Steelers, don't really know what's going on there. They got rid of Ben.
Yeah.
Did they get rid of him last year or this year?
Ben Roethlisberger?
Took him long enough, but I don't remember when
like
they got rid
now.
of him. And then Giants are really good. No, dude, they are. They beat the Vikings in the playoffs. They got to the divisional round of the playoffs, okay? Then again, we could have beaten the Vikings in the playoffs last year. So we didn't.
Just get a bunch of our friends, just pull out the Rolodex, like, guys, we got a Vikings team to beat next weekend.
Hey, as long as you got somebody who could like run at all against those Vikings defensive backs last year, you're fine. You're good.
Just crowdsource some uniforms.
If he can catch and he can run a little bit, like, dude, you're all good.
Some of our fans are not going to be happy about this episode.
So we start and end with the Bears, which I think is very interesting. That's the longest. This is the first time in NFL history where the Packers and Bears matchups in a season have been a full 17 weeks apart. The first time ever. It has never happened.
So did it happen just like once, maybe a few years ago?
No, it has never happened.
Ever.
Because it wasn't even possible.
You're saying literally ever. And by literally, I mean literally.
Literally never.
Whoa.
So
that is literally insane.
So I think
hold on. My brain just exploded.
Just a little bit. It's kind of gross, actually. So I think opening with the Bears is quite interesting. I think that'll be a really fun game. It's not a night game, but it is a afternoon game. I think that'll be really fun because you've got Justin Fields and Jordan Love, both young QBs. I think they were drafted the same year. Maybe Justin Fields was the year after. I'm not sure. Both young teams. It's good. And it's an away game. So, I don't know. Whatever. It'll be fun.
See that.
Be fun. Then we go to the Falcons. I don't care. It's the Falcons. Like, we're not even going to get the game. It's at 12 p.m. at the Oh, well, no, it is the Falcons, so maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Being South games is nice because we might actually get some of the games.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
The Saints and the Lions, who I still think are a dangerous team.
Saints don't... Yeah, I'm worried about Lions a little bit more. We got a Thursday night, which should be really fun. Raiders, I don't know. Monday night Raiders. That's so Raiders, Monday Night Football. I don't know, dude. And then early bye week, which is interesting. That might be tough, but... From
what I've read on Packers.com, like, the bye weeks were divvied up in a really weird way. Like, there's very few that are, like, right in the middle of the season. Yeah. The bye week, it's such a brutal. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, with the 17 weeks, I'm surprised they don't just make everybody's just around like 10 to 15 instead of making them 6. Like, dude, because especially if you got playoffs,
oh, it's insane.
You're playing 21 games if you're a really good team.
Like, let's just acknowledge the fact that football is a physically brutal game.
Yeah,
these guys suffer so much pain.
Dude, if you play, you have 21 weeks now, including preseason.
Yeah.
And then you get playoffs, and if you go to the Super Bowl, you're going to be playing. If you're a starter and you're going to the Super Bowl, you will play 20 games minimum a season in the span of like 22 weeks.
Yeah, and if you don't get
like,
that
what?
one bye, dude, that's insane.
So, I don't know. And then we got Broncos. I'm not that worried about the Broncos. The Russell Wilson thing has
been pretty sad. Like, he looked kind of depressed.
He has more hope this year because he got a new coach, but even then,
I don't know if they're still starting him or what's going on. I don't know.
And then we got our first Vikings matchup.
All the way at the end of October, huh?
They scheduled it pretty late, but I guess it makes sense.
I prefer the division games to be late anyway, because teams don't know what they're doing yet in the beginning. They're too important to do on the first week, I think. But hopefully the Packers will just go, and ownership of the Bears has been transferred from Rodgers to Love, and.
Yeah, I think this season was a lot better than most in terms of like beginning of the season division games because we got
Bears and the Lions.
And then Lions is week 4, which were fine. And
you mean it's the best in terms of not overloading at the front?
Because last year we had like 2 or 3 within the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. I think we had 3 actually. And then we got Rams, whatever. Steelers, whatever. Chargers. There's a lot. 4 straight 12 p.m.
The Chargers, they have the lightning bolt or whatever.
Okay, and then we got Lions on Thanksgiving.
I'm jacked about that.
That will be really, really fun. Yep. Probably one of the more interesting Thanksgiving games for a noon Thanksgiving game we've had in a while.
It's really possible that both of those teams are in contention and fighting for the North because the North is so up for grabs right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about the Vikings. I have no idea what they're going to be like. No idea.
If they keep starting Cousins, I'm just not that scared of them. If they keep running an offense through a running back with a quarterback who can kind of just plug and play, that's not how this league works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
until they either get a better quarterback or have a scary defense like they used to, I'm just not that afraid of them.
The thing with the Vikings, though, is they look at the Packers as like that's all that matters. If they can sweep the Packers and lose the rest of the games, I've heard literal Viking fans be like, yeah, that's a great season for me. All I want is to hurt the Packers. So, okay, well, maybe your focus is a bit too narrow.
Possibly.
So they're not like... They're just walkovers. They're not like the Buccaneers used to be when they were part of the NFC Central. We just chalked up 2 wins every year.
Yeah, seriously.
Even the Packers would just be like, yeah, we're going to whip those guys.
Yeah. And then we got Sunday night against the Chiefs, December 3rd. That will be really fun.
I hear they're a pretty decent team.
I don't have high hopes for that game. It's a Sunday night against the Chiefs. Then we got Monday night at the Giants, which should be fun. I don't know. Giants, it'll be exciting. The Giants have good luck, so, you know.
I'm hoping when we go back to the Lions, I'm hoping when we play them on Thanksgiving, they haven't been mathematically eliminated. Because that's when they become most dangerous, when they can't actually accomplish something. I knew that when they were last year at the end of the season. Once we found out that the Lions were mathematically eliminated, I said, now the Lions are dangerous. Because when they have an opportunity to do something great, that's when they're going to tank. But when all is lost and all they have to do is play out their rage, and they just played rage ball against us and whipped us. Yeah, and while Rodgers is kind of pouting. So I hope that game they're still kind of in it, like we could win.
And it's at the Lions too, which will be fun.
Sorry. I'm just saying Buccaneers, Panthers.
Bucks, Panthers, those are both noon games.
Vikings and Bears to end this game.
Okay, then we got Vikings, a Sunday night game on New Year's Eve. And both teams hopefully will be doing good. And at the very least, like, it's the Vikings. We'll try to beat them.
Yep.
It should be fun. Why not? And then we got Bears, which there's 2 ways this could go. I highly doubt that the Bears end up being a good team, but if they do, well, it'll probably be flexed to a game that is later or whatever, a higher, like, more viewers game.
Well, they got a great tight end now in Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, they do. Wait, they got Tonyan? That's funny. He just shreds the Packers week 18. So and then in the wild card round. Okay, I'm not gonna go there.
We're not gonna be playing the wild card round.
Oh yeah, dang, you're right, dude. Number 1 seed.
We got the bye, baby.
For whatever reason, every year we got number 1 seed. We just couldn't do anything. We got number 1 seed like 2 straight years, and the bye, and then lost in the championship
with home field advantage.
We got the Bucks loss, and then the 49ers loss.
The 49ers one was like... They both were tragic losses. That's just enough, you guys. Come on.
So, yeah, that's the Packers season. And then we got some preseason games, which, whatever.
So, we're going to close up here soon.
Yeah.
I'm fatiguing, and I have to get some charcoal for Mother's Day dinner grilling. When we look at a season, you always go, strength of schedule. Just like we don't know how good a draft class is yet before they've even taken a single snap in the NFL. We have no idea. Like, all of a sudden, the teams that you think stink are going to be good, and the teams you think are good are going to stink. Or, oh man, the Raiders turned out to be super awesome. And then Devontae Adams gets hurt week 4. And then you're playing them. Or all of a sudden, the Chiefs can't start Mahomes. And you're not looking at the same Chiefs team that we were looking at now, hypothetically, before the season. So anytime we start looking at how good or bad or what our chances are, we don't know. We don't even know who the Chiefs draft. I don't know a single guy the Chiefs drafted or trades they made, what their coaching staff philosophy is. I don't know anything about these guys.
No.
So, NFC North, I think, is very much up for grabs. And I'm excited about Jordan Love coming in at a time where... Well, like normal, that the other 3 teams aren't necessarily that good. The Lions are, I think right now, on paper, the team to beat. Just because they're, like I said earlier, they're running in the same direction.
I think
frothing at the mouth.
I think it's the best overall NFC North we've had in like 5 years.
Okay. In terms of like against each other,
everybody's about the same level. And I think that level is higher for the Bears and Lions and Vikings than it was 5 years ago.
Okay.
And the Packers just kind of lowered a little bit.
Yep.
And we're all kind of at the same playing field. Vikings have a little bit of an advantage. They got more star power and better players.
Flashier.
And more experience winning.
Yeah, it's true. And more experience losing.
And, well, I think most of the Bears and Lions got that.
Yeah, it's true.
Thing is, the Lions won a lot of games last year.
Yeah, they're a good football team. They are.
They won about as many as we did.
The last people to really admit that openly are Lions fans, but just because their life is a tragic comedy of horrors, and I empathize with those guys. I have a couple of really good friends who are Lions fans, and
that's just tough. That's tough.
It's tough, but I think it's the Packers and Lions in the NFC North fighting for it. Because really, like you said, before this year, a lot of those past 10 years or so has been like the Packers, and then the rest of the NFC North is like Little League, you know.
Right. But now it's like, oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, we have to fight for it all.
To like actually fight for it.
And then just get demolished in the playoffs. Let's see how this plays out. It's fun. What did you want to go over under quick and then close, or you got something else to go?
One quick thing here. I think I see this. Now, I'm just talking here. I don't know anything.
That's what we do on the FSPOD, baby.
But if this Packers team, scraps its way all the way to the playoffs, there is no way they're going down in the first or second round.
I hear that.
I just, like...
Dude, I hear that.
If this young, well-coached football team can get that far, I don't think they're going to go down without a fight.
And also,
the way Rodgers would.
And if they do get that far, the only way they get that far is by bonding together.
Right.
And you saw that. I really saw that in the 96 Packer team. Like, those guys loved each other, and they were friends, and they ate dinner at each other's house, and they hung out together. Then you lost that late era Favre. And you never really had that with Rodgers, at least from what I could tell. He had one or two of his kind of buddies, but he was a little bit brooding and kind of kept to himself. And his philosophy seemed to be, look, I'm perfect, and if all y'all just be more perfect, everything's going to work out. Where Favre was like, let's be brothers, but then later on he became a diva and started dressing in the coach's locker room instead of hanging out with the guys, and then they lost that. But I think for a young team, this young team, if they actually bond, and Love was talking about, he's already reaching out to the guys they drafted, he's getting workouts with guys, and he's trying to form those friendship bonds, which that's huge. All these guys are super athletes. Anyone who makes it on the field in an NFL regular season game is a super athlete.
Yeah.
And so then the question is, what are those little things that can make you, so being bonded together, being friends, being really fighting for each other, if that team does scratch it out and make a run at the playoffs, these guys are frothing at the mouth, and they will be dangerous. Yep. Will they do that? I have no idea.
No idea, but I think if they can get to that point, they will be seriously dangerous.
Yep. And you don't have the potential of kind of an old, brooding quarterback who's kind of pouting that things aren't going his way. You have Jordan Love saying, we have an opportunity here, friends. Let's go get this thing.
So, that'd
be so fun.
I'm looking at this season. I'm seeing, for me, okay, that's most likely going to be a loss is Chiefs, Giants, and then the Vikings games. Those are the only games that I'm like, I'm really scared. Other than that, I'm looking at a lot of
this time of year there's so much optimism.
I look at this.
The Saints will run over them. Raiders will run them over.
Okay.
Chargers, Pittsburgh Steelers. Done.
Okay, wait.
Just chalk up the wins.
So I think Chargers and Raiders and maybe Lions are kind of the I have no idea teams. Any of those teams, in my opinion, could all of a sudden be top tier. Especially Lions. But I don't think Broncos and Steelers are going to be top tier, in my opinion. Bears are not going to be top tier. Falcons, Saints, no. No. But then again...
But we might not be top tier either.
Yeah, right.
There's a pretty big question mark at the most important position on the entire team, quarterback.
Right.
I think this guy's going to be good, and I'm excited to see him grow and develop. But we don't know. He might stink. Dude, you stink at this.
And our season only gets harder. So if we're losing those early games, it's going to be tough to pick it up. It kind of gradually gets tougher. Then again, we do have a Panthers and a Bears at the end of the season. So
it's The NFL season was always tough and grueling, physically, emotionally, whatever. But since they went to 17 games, it's like, it's just, like, it's torturous. Like, I almost feel bad about watching because of what these guys go through. Anyway,
Yeah. So...
Yeah, just no idea. This is the time of year where everyone's team on paper is the best team ever, and they're going to run through a ton of guys. But we have no idea.
I would say probably 6 to 10 wins. I don't see us getting more than 10, unless we're absurdly good.
Yeah,
like
to get less than 6, you have to really suck.
And with 17 games, I see us beating the Bears twice.
Mm-hmm.
I see us beating the Lions once, and I see us beating the Vikings once.
Yep.
Maybe not guaranteed, but I think it's a fair assumption to win 3 of our division games. Go 50-50. I see us beating 2 of the NFC South teams.
Okay.
Those teams are...
and we're playing 4, so we're splitting with the...
Right,
okay.
so then that's 5 wins. And I don't think that's an absurd assumption.
No, that's...
And I think we can eke one out against the Steelers, if we need.
Yeah.
Or the Raiders. Or the Chargers. So I'd say 6 to 10.
Okay.
I don't see us getting more or less than that.
My prediction? Pain.
My
prediction, 17-0, run through the playoffs in the Super Bowl. First team since the 72
Let's go.
Dolphins.
And they only won 17 games. So if we go like whatever it is, 20-0, that's crazy. 20 games we have to win.
That's so dumb. No,
yeah, it would be 20.
I think they're going to be pretty decent.
20.
They'll win some games. I don't care if they win 3, but if they're developing and they're growing and yeah, we just need to see what's going on with Jordan Love. I'm guessing they're going to be around 500, and maybe they can eke out a couple, and or maybe they just get really hot at the end. That would be cool because it takes a little while, and all the old, more veteran teams start wearing down, and they still have legs because they're all young kids. No.
And I think, honestly, if you can be eking out games against teams like the Lions, Bears, Giants, those kind of teams in the NFC, you can go 9-8 and get a wild card now.
I know.
You can go 10-7 and get a wild.
It's just an open invitation out to the playoffs.
10-7, you're basically already in.
Oh yeah.
Kind of clinched. 9-8 is now the like. It used to be 10-6 was the like. You don't know.
Yeah.
But now it's 9-8. So it's because there's no 50-50. So if you just get lucky, you're 9-8.
Yeah.
And you have a chance.
We should have probably trigger alerted people for the fact that we are pretty gangster, and when we say 50, sometimes we say 50.
50.
So if that is a trigger issue for you,
we probably should have broke this into 2 too as well.
Yeah, probably.
This is like an hour and 15 right now.
Yeah. Whew.
Hey, how are ya?
So let's go Packers, huh?
Yeah, dude.
Anyway, we'll see.
Going to the bowl, baby.
Podheads, we love ya.
Yeah, we do.
So.
Oh my gosh.
I am Father.
And I am Son, and this has been
the Epic Father and Son Podcast of Destiny. Alright, take 2.
Alright, let's try it again.
Because I am Father.
And I am Son, and this has been
the Father and Son.
I thought it was the Epic Father and Son.
Did we say Epic?
I thought we did.
Alright, take 3.
Alright, we'll try this again.
I am Father.
And I am Son, and this has been
the Epic Father and Son Podcast of Destiny. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.